We've been doing this video game channel a few months now, and whilst I've been out and about hunting for games, it's stirred up lots of memories, lots of nostalgia, games from my past, and it's got me thinking. I've been ticking over, what is my actual retro video game grail? And that's what today is all about. Now, before we get tucked into what the Grail actually is, I'm going to put on screen the Virtuify the Retro Gamer brain teaser question as normal, but unlike normal, I'm going to ask you this time to make note of the answers and put in the comments whether you think it's A, B, C or D. I'm not going to put the answer up at the end of the video this time. I'm going to get it a bit more interactive, so answer A, B, C or D in the comments, and what I will do, if you get it right, I will like your comment so you know that you got it right. If you don't get a like, you'll know that you got it wrong. So, moving on with the Grail stuff. Now, before I tell you, I'm going to tease you a little bit before I tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you a few things, just a bit of a clue to keep it going, keep the suspense up. It's on my favourite system, the Mega Drive, so that narrows it down. It came out on the Mega Drive in 1991, a great year, which is why it's kind of linked in with the time period that I loved gaming and a lot of other stuff going on. You got things like, for me personally, my team, Sheffield Wednesday, beat Man United in the League Cup, 1991, great year. I can hear all the Man United fans if there's any watching booing now. There was all sorts of stuff, music-wise. I was into my Nirvana, that was big, obviously, and I'm still to this day, I'm a big Nirvana fan. I love their music. Just 1991 was a great year. And as a Mega Drive owner, an import Mega Drive owner, there was the official release titles by then because the UK PAL Mega Drive was out and the official UK games were out, so you could buy them. But because I jumped on the Mega Drive bandwagon straight away and got the import Mega Drive in '89, I'd been building sort of on and off a bit of a small collection and swapping and changing import Mega Drive games, and this was one of them. So 1991, that sort of time period, the style of game is a run and gun. And I had a little bit of a go on it not so long since. If you watched from the start this channel when we got going, I sold a few things, including my Mega Drive Mini 2, to get funds for starting the whole collecting properly and getting the proper Mega Drive. Now, this game is on the Mega Drive Mini 2. So if you know your Mega Drive Mini 2 catalogue, you can narrow it down further. It's a run and gun. So that's a big clue if you know your Mega Drive Mini 2 and you know your run and guns. I love run and guns generally. It starts back, I remember first getting Commando on the Spectrum. So my love for run and guns started way back in the sort of Spectrum era of the 80s, mid 80s, playing Commando. Then playing games like Secret Command when I moved on to my Master System. You've got games like Metal Slug, your Contras, etc. Ikari Warriors. I really loved those type of games. And they were all sort of tied in style-wise with 80s movies like Rambo that me and my brother loved watching, and Commando. So yeah, it was all that sort of scene that sort of dragged on into the early 90s when this game came out on the Mega Drive. So, without further ado, I'm going to do an overview of the video game so you know which one it is, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it after that, why it's my grail, and why, although it's not necessarily the most expensive game, or maybe the most difficult to find, etc., the most rare to pick up, I'll chat a little bit more as to why it feels special to me and why it's a grail for me. But here's the overview of the game right now. Back in 1989, Data East dropped Midnight Resistance, a side-scrolling run-and-gun shooter that felt like Contra, but with a twist. Let's take a look at what in my opinion is an often underrated classic. In Midnight Resistance you play as a lone soldier, or in two-player co-op, on a mission to rescue your kidnapped family from an evil dictator. Armed with a unique rotary joystick for a side-scrolling run-and-gun at the time, players could aim and shoot in 8 directions while moving independently. This mechanic made it stand out from its contemporaries. Defeating enemies dropped keys which unlocked weapon upgrades at the end of each stage. These include spread shots, flamethrowers and even homing missiles, perfect for tearing through the relentless waves of enemies. Fast forward to 1991 and Midnight Resistance made its way to home systems including a solid SEGA Mega Drive port. The Japanese Mega Drive release by Data East stayed mostly faithful to the arcade original, but some alterations were required, and like most other home versions it lost the two-player co-op option that for some reason survived on the Amiga port. Due to the lack of a rotary joystick, aiming had to be done using the 3-button setup, making gameplay feel different from the arcade. Visually, the Mega Drive port looked great, though it had fewer colours and some missing animations. The music, while not as crisp as the arcade's FM synth, still delivered that intense, action-packed feel. Despite some limitations, Midnight Resistance remained a very fun, fast-paced shooter that Mega Drive fans could enjoy at home. Today, it's somewhat of a cult favourite, especially among collectors of classic Data East titles. So whether you played it at the arcade, on the Mega Drive, or both like me, or even on another system entirely, Midnight Resistance is a hidden gem worth revisiting in my opinion. I reckon an arcade perfect version of this classic would be great on Nintendo Switch too. What do you think? Maybe one day, eh? What's your favourite version? Let me know in the comments. So there you have it, Midnight Resistance. I think it's an absolutely brilliant game and I loved catching up with it when I had the Mega Drive Mini 2, and it is one of the few games that I sort of sometimes regret getting rid of the Mega Drive Mini 2 because that was on it. I don't regret moving on to proper collecting and having a genuine Mega Drive usually, but that is one game that stood out. So when it was all whirling around in my head, what would be a GRAIL game, what would be special, that was popping up a lot, like playing it relatively recently, a few months back now, but relatively recently, I'm thinking, yeah, that was a special game, and it just reminded me of when I first played it in the arcades and sort of memories about that. And yeah, it just all sort of came together and I thought, yeah, that game's special to me. It reminds me of a time, it's not just the game, it reminds me of me at a particular time. That 14, 15-year-old me with Mega Drive owning, games of that time, like I said before, the sport events of that time that meant a lot to me, music scene, your grunge scene, etc. Friends I was knocking around with. Just that time period was a really golden period of my youth, if you like. And this game, purchasing it, it was in and amongst all that, and it just, as a run and gun again, it's special. So yeah, it's special because it's not just the game and enjoying the game, but what's wrapped around that. And I think that for lots of you out there, when you've got your GRAIL games, your holy grails that you want to pick up, sometimes it's just because they are the most expensive or the most rare on a system. But I think for a lot of you, let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong, but I think for a lot of you, it's not just about that. It is about the sort of the nostalgic package that goes round those games or that game. So yeah, backstory a little bit more for me. I first played Midnight Resistance in the arcades when I believe the fair came. We used to get the fair come to our area once a year. They'd park up on the local playing field and they'd bring, one of their things they'd bring would be a sort of a mini arcade, and you go in there, and I'm pretty certain, because don't think this is going back for me now just over 30 years. So I'm sort of piecing this together, but I seem to remember, I have a vague memory of the fair coming, going in the arcade there, and that's where I first saw this game and played it. Put a few 10p's in and had a go and loved it. Loved the music, just loved the style of it, the different joystick with the rotary joystick. It was a little bit weird to get used to at first, but it was intriguing, and I just had a few goes on it in there, and that's sort of when I first remember, that's the memory in my head where I first interacted with Midnight Resistance. We then, not long after that, there was a local businessman who, in one of the small shops near to where I lived, he opened up a mini arcade, and I think it was quite small. I think he only probably got about 10 arcade cabinets in there, and he had Data East Dragon Ninja, I think in America, Bad Dudes, and I used to go in there. Me and a couple of my mates would go up there after school quite often, or on a Saturday. We'd slot in quite a few 10p's, which I'd earned through the week on my paper round. But we'd slot in the 10p's and we played Dragon Ninja. Loved that game. But in there as well was a copy of a cabinet of Midnight Resistance. So I would play it there as well from memory. So that was another time period, another place around that time where I remember accessing the arcade cabinet for it. And I just developed a love for the game. I enjoyed playing it. So when it was reviewed in Mean Machines, I believe it was the May 1991 month of Mean Machines, they reviewed it. And in fact, I can access that, so I'll stick up on screen now the review for that. It got a decent feedback from Mean Machines, and obviously not the best game they'd ever reviewed, but it got good feedback, and I remembered playing it on the arcade, and I just thought, you know what, that's on my radar, I want that, and I remember wanting that game. Now, I have played a lot of games over my time period, like you guys probably, and certain games, like everybody, you remember you got your Sonic and your Marios and your Street Fighter 2s, and there's certain games that we all sort of say, yeah, I played them, I remember when I first got that, etc, etc. But this is one of those sort of special ones, I suppose, that's not always on everybody's radar, that just stands out for me. I suppose it's just a little bit different. So when I saw that review, and I remembered playing it in the arcades a few times, I think also I actually it's just popped in my head, I vaguely have a memory of playing it when we went on holiday with my parents, me and my brother. I think it was like in the arcades at the coast, probably Scarborough or Bridlington or something on the east coast of England. We went in an arcade there. I seem to remember playing it there as well. But I want to, because of that backstory of playing it in the arcades and enjoying it, the idea of getting a copy at home, like with a lot of video games at that time, it was amazing feeling, wasn't it? If you remember that time, if you were around then, loads of video games. If you played in the arcade and then you saw you had a chance to get it at home on your home console or your home computer, you'd be like, wow, this is amazing, I need to get a copy of that. And Midnight Resistance, for me, was one of those games that when I saw it was available, I wanted it. So I hunted it down and went into one of the local shops that was selling import Mega Drive games. I think, if I remember rightly, I think I paid £40 for it. Now, I've found evidence of how much it cost. You probably see it on the Mean Machines review. I think it gave a price on that as well. But I also found in an old magazine a price for it on import. It was around about that high 30 odd pounds, £40 mark as an import. Now, thinking about it, in today's money, that'd be well over 100 quid. So it was quite expensive, really. I often think that modern games are far too expensive for what they give and all this, that, and all that. But really, when you think about back in the day, and you include inflation, we paid quite a lot for these games, and Midnight Resistance was one of them. So 40 quid, I think I got it with some birthday money and probably, again, a bit of savings from doing my paper round, or maybe I had a part-time job. Then back in the day, you could have a part-time job when you was like 15 or so. I probably did that. I probably earned a little bit more and put that towards it. But yeah, I picked up a copy, and another thing that makes it special, being an import one, and I tend to remember my import Mega Drive games because it was a different world. So if you're watching me now and you lived back then, you'll know what I mean. If you're watching now, you're that little bit younger and you're sort of more the internet generation and you don't really remember before that, it was just a different time period. And when you got things from abroad, like things traveling from Japan, it kind of felt almost like it had come from another planet. Japan felt back then a lot further away from the United Kingdom than it feels today. It was just a big deal. And then the artwork that went with, I mean, if I turn, I've got a copy of Strider, so I'll try not getting the glare, but you pick these up, and back then I had a copy of Strider as well, if I remember right. I didn't get the official one, I got this one, the import version. And you would get amazing different artwork, and just the fact that, the Japanese writing on it, it was just, it come from this other culture, this place that seems so far away, and it just felt really special. I've got this has come all the way here, and I've got a copy of it. And it was the same with Midnight Resistance. I also don't think it actually came out. I mean, let me know in the comments. I'm pretty certain it only came out in Japan for the Mega Drive and the United States. I don't think we got a European version of it anyway. I mean, I at the time wouldn't have been hunting around for a UK copy because I had my import copy. But let me know. I don't think it came out in the UK anyway, so I'd have been waiting a long, long time. But yeah, it was one of those games that was special because it had come from so far away, this magical land, Japan, that was so far away. From people that, you know, a place where I never thought I would ever remotely go anywhere near. I mean, I've not visited Japan, if I'm honest, to this day, but I visited a long time ago. I visited Australia. And back when I visited Australia, it felt a lot further away then, back in the early noughties, than it does now. The world has just shrunk, hasn't it? But yeah, back to the gaming. It was just a special time. And Midnight Resistance, I don't really fully know why, but the more I've thought about that early 90s time period, what was just going on generally, that game just pings out to me a lot, and purchasing it pings out and playing it, it's up there. So for all that sort of nostalgic reason, it might not be the greatest game ever. I'm not saying it's the best game on the Mega Drive, but it is a great game. It is a good game, and I didn't complete it, so I think there's a little bit of that as well. Maybe getting another copy and wanting to finally complete it. I tried to complete it, but I think it was one of them that I never fully got round to doing and mastering and beating. So it'd be nice to get a copy and beat it. So it's just, for me, it's special. Now let me know in the comments, what do you think of Midnight Resistance? Did you have it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were you not keen on, maybe if you had the Mega Drive copy, maybe you weren't keen on the change of controls because of that whole rotary joystick thing? Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. But for me, it's become the grail. It's one I'm going to be hunting for, but probably not going to be able to pick up. Now, I've seen it's going for around about, for a minty copy, and as it's the grail, I'm going to be looking for minty. I don't collect perfection. I've mentioned before, generally, as long as the game works and it's in decent condition, I'll pick it up for the right price. If you're going to go for the grail, you've got to do it properly, haven't you? So if I'm going to ever pick up Midnight Resistance, I would want a minty import Japanese copy of it. Looking at those, they're averaging, to me, they seem to be around about the £150 mark now, which, like I was saying before, price-wise, that sounds, wow, that's bonkers, £150, but really that's probably about what it was when it came out, in old money, new money. But yeah, I'm probably not, in my circumstances, and again, we're all different. You might be watching this thinking, well, that's a relatively cheap one to add to a retro collection, and it is for some people. For me, that will be a real stretch to get to a day where I've got £150 to lay out on one retro video game. It's not going to be anytime soon, I don't think, but it's there as a dream. It's a game that I'd really love to have in my collection. I'd really love to have an import copy of again, a minty copy of. I'd love to try and complete it because I love my run and guns, and I didn't complete that one. So yeah, that is why Midnight Resistance is my holy grail, that when I see it out and about, and when me and the kids are out and about game hunting, etc., I'll no doubt see it every now and again. I don't see it a lot, to be honest. Again, let me know, is it one that's pretty rare? If you want it on the import Jap version, is it rare? Because I haven't seen it. We've been dotting around doing this now for a few months, and I've not seen it once. But yeah, let me know. You can get copies of it off eBay, as I mentioned before. I don't want to do that, even if I had the money, let's say for whatever reason I had a windfall of 150 quid and I could just buy it off eBay tomorrow. That's not my plan. I don't, doing this, for me, if I'm going to hunt down a holy grail, I'm going to wait for the day when I can afford it and I've found it on a hunt, I've found it in the wild. I'm not just going to take it off of eBay. That's not how I would want to do it anyway. So yeah, I've not seen it in the wild. Let me know, is it something that probably would crop up, or is it more rare than I think it is? But yeah, I'm just going to look around on the game hunts generally. If it pops up, maybe one day, maybe I'll find it in minty condition and I'll be able to pick it up. Who knows? But until then, it's going to be my holy grail for the Mega Drive, my favorite system of all. So that's pretty much it for today. Let me know, again, like I said, let me know what you think of Midnight Resistance. Did you have it? Did you not? Did you like it? Did you not? Like I said with Virtual Father Retro Gamer Brain Teaser, I will like the comments, the ABCD comments, if you've got it right. So if you're taking part with that, make sure you do that. Put the letter in, I should say, for the right answer, and I'll like it if you got it right. Obviously, any comments to do with today's video and interacting with us on the channel, we always love and appreciate, so please get in touch with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that really helps the channel out. We are slowly but surely bumping up those subscriptions, which is great. Really do appreciate it. So thanks again to all you people who do watch and come back and watch and have subscribed. We really do appreciate that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Keep enjoying your gaming. Bye for now.